Yeah. Thanks.
If we had digital, everything on the internet is digital information. Like Google and Facebook and Apple, they're moving digital information around. If we had digital energy, what's the difference between energy and information? Information is non-conservative and energy is conservative. So if we had digital energy that respected the laws of conservation of energy, and it was truly conservative, at the point you've implemented conservation of energy in cyberspace, you would be able to elevate the safety and the civility and the efficiency and the trust of all discourse in the civilization. So digital energy is kind of critical to the next step in the world, because you need 100 million businesses trading with 8 billion people at the speed of light for free with trust. And they can't do it with digital information alone, right? You can't trust anything. I can't even open my DMs on Twitter or Instagram without 99% of the shit in my DMs is malicious bots or spam or scam. Do you know that we take down 20 to 25 malicious spam bots on Google every hour? People keep posting on Twitter. They're like, someone's impersonating you on YouTube, and why haven't you taken that down yet? It's like, well, I did 37 minutes ago. Like literally every hour, there are 20 of these things get spun up. And, they show 18,000 people listening to Michael Saylor giving away free Bitcoin advice and giving away Bitcoin. There's legitimately 18,000 like spam bots, and Google can't stop them. And if it costs you, say, a $30 security deposit, then you'd have to post, $60,000, and you would lose $60,000 every time we reported you. And that stuff would stop in a hurry if there was a $30 fine per malicious fake person. And so you could literally monetize all that malicious behavior, and you could shut down 99.9% of the hostility online. And that's just one little example. But of course, you can't imagine just how much inefficiency there is in the world because of a lack of trust, or the fact that
I imagine.
Sure you do. I'm sure you imagine it. Yeah,
I do.
I guess I would say digital energy is the most powerful idea. And I'm a big fan of it because it's apolitical.
Yeah, right.
See, I'm not a big fan of digital money because it's political.
Yeah.
And digital currency is going to be the province of every government. And so if you wish to wrest control of the currency from the government, it is literally a revolutionary idea. You're not going to do well with the mainstream, and it's going to be a difficult road to hoe. So if you said what I've got is digital energy, what will it do? It will improve your efficiency by a factor of 1 million and bring safety and civility to cyberspace and protect your children from being molested by pedophiles, and stop terrorism online, and stop criminal behavior, and stop con men, and protect the investing public. There's nobody that's going to object to the idea of doing those things. The Chinese government would agree with that. Every government would agree with that. Even at some point, you would even have the Koreans and the Cubans. They won't agree on digital property, but they could probably agree on digital energy. Like, name someone that wants to outlaw fire and electricity in their country, or steel. Like, there are communist societies that outlaw property. Everybody outlaws private currency, right?
Yeah.
But nobody outlaws energy. And so I think that it's not just the most powerful intellectual idea, it's the most powerful political idea and the most powerful marketing idea. If you want to spread this technology to the four corners of the earth as rapidly as possible. And also it's a lot clearer narrative, I think, than the Web 3.0 thing, right? It's like, what what I want to do is I want to go from the internet, which was a layer of digital information, to the next generation, which is a layer of digital energy overlaying digital information. And who's the winner? Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they can all be winners. Twitter can be a winner. YouTube can be a winner. Every government can be a winner. Who's the loser? This is probably the single most important point. My number one question. If you properly explain Bitcoin as digital energy, who's the loser? There's nobody. There's no reason anybody needs to be a loser. Only people, offering inferior horse and buggy technologies that just don't work so well. And I think that's the key for us. We should communicate to people the technology promise here, because technology is apolitical and it's a universally desirable thing everywhere in the world and always will be. And everything else you want to say, you could probably say through the lens of technology. Other questions?
David has a question for you. David, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, guys. So Michael, and just to that point as well, I think that the correlation also between Bitcoin and time, there's a very big correlation in that people basically take their time, exchange it to work at a day job. And as they create inflation, you work twice as hard for the same dollars. So they're actually robbing time, which is, I would argue, the most valuable asset, even probably more than energy, because you never get the time back. So I think it's super interesting. My question was with regards to purchasing crypto assets, primarily Bitcoin, as opposed to the option of also mining for Bitcoin and basically purchasing the hardware to acquire that Bitcoin. And then with that, a follow-up to that is the correlation between the miners and the pricing of those miners. So are they setting the price of Bitcoin, setting with the hash rate, the complexity? Are they partially in control of Bitcoin price based off the mining?
I don't buy the notion that there's any correlation between hash rate and price of Bitcoin. I think that hash rate determines the security of Bitcoin, but I don't see it, and it determines how competitive Bitcoin mining is, but I don't really see it as having any serious impact on the price. When Bitcoin's hash rate decreased by 50% or 100%, when it was cut in half, I didn't see Bitcoin as less valuable. And if it doubled, I think anything within an order of magnitude feels pretty secure to me. So I don't really get caught up in that. With regard to mining versus buying it, let's just say there's a million ways to get Bitcoin. If you're a dentist, you can fix teeth, take the cash flow and buy Bitcoin. If you're a doctor, you can set bones, take the cash flow, buy Bitcoin. If you're a country, you can print your currency, buy Bitcoin. If you're a company, you can sell your product and buy Bitcoin. If you're a miner, you can mine for Bitcoin. If you are a semiconductor company, you could create SHA-256 ASIC chips, compete with Bitmain, sell them to miners, take the cash flow and buy Bitcoin. I tend to think that mining is one of the most competitive industries in the world. Right, it's almost by design, right? It's totally open, globally competitive, no monopolies. No government's going to pass a law giving you a monopoly on Bitcoin production in the world. Your odds of getting a monopoly, for your restaurant or for your hospital or for your power company are much higher. So you're competing in a brutal fashion against everybody else. I tend to think that everybody ought to figure out how you can best generate cash flows to buy, or how you can max out the amount of Bitcoin you can buy. For example, with Saifedean, if he writes books, I would say, write good books, sell the books, convert the cash, buy Bitcoin. I wouldn't, if Saif said, should I write another book or should I teach or should I start a Bitcoin mining company? I would say probably, generally, I believe in capitalism. I think Bitcoin's all about capitalism. And really the ethos of capitalism is you need to be the best in the world in your niche of what you do. If you're going to be a restaurant, you better be the best restaurant of that type in your neighborhood. And if you are, then maybe you'll make money, but maybe you won't make money. There's all sorts of existential risks, right? Maybe your restaurant will get forcibly shut down, right? So you have risks in every business. There are risks in mining. If you can raise lots of capital, mining is a capital intensive industry. If you can raise a lot of capital cheap, then that would be a good reason to go into Bitcoin mining. If you have a lot of rigs, that's a good reason to be mining. If you had energy, if it was free, maybe, but the truth is energy is really the tail wagging the dog here. The world's full of too much energy, and energy is only like 1, 2, 3% of the proposition. If you become a miner and you buy power from somebody else and they cut you off, they can destroy you. So it's a risk factor. But if you told me I have energy at 2 cents a kilowatt hour forever, should I be a Bitcoin miner? Not necessarily. If you can't raise capital, you're still going to get wiped out, right? There's politics, there's capital, there's execution, et cetera. So I like Bitcoin mining. I think it's good business. I also think it's going to get, I also think that it's a business that calls for a very aggressive business strategy. Like you want to get big fast, like raise billions of dollars of capital and buy up all the other miners and buy up all the equipment and then raise billions of dollars of more capital. And I know there's the Bitcoin ideal, which is we want distributed mining. And okay, I'm okay with that, but I just see that when you see someone with 3 football fields full of mining rigs, right, and they're engineering this stuff, you start to think this is getting to be a very scale intensive, capital intensive business. So I don't think that I would go into that business unless you really knew what you were doing. I would just evaluate every business opportunity.
Well, you have companies like Compass Mining or Blockstream, where they're basically data centers, and then you can bring your hardware there, or they supply the hardware.
Well, you're splitting the returns with them. You're the limited. Here's the issue, right? Like Bitcoin is like the best thing in our lifetime. You could own the property and be the general partner of the property of full property rights. Or you can buy a share, you could be a limited partner in someone else's business. So do you want to be do you want to be partners with someone else in a speculative business that has risk that may or may not pay off? Like for example, do you want to be a franchisee to McDonald's, or do you want to be McDonald's? I used to work, I did consulting work for McDonald's. And if you did the analysis after you did the conclusion, you concluded that running restaurants is really not a good industry to be in. It's not a good business. You don't make that much money at the end of the day. And in fact, all the profit of McDonald's was based upon the real estate leases and the fact that they were assigned long-term leases with their franchisors that they couldn't get out of. They had a monopoly on the lease. So McDonald's had 20,000, 30,000 limited partners. And the limited partners want to be their own business, right? So your family, you want to be in business, you want to be a Bitcoin miner, but you don't want to run your own data center. So you go ahead and you sign up with someone else. You're like a McDonald's franchise. Is that a good idea? I don't know. Maybe. Would I do it instead of buy Bitcoin? No. Like I would buy the Bitcoin, because if you own Bitcoin, you've got your own franchise. You own X% of the dominant monopoly monetary network, and you're the property owner. So you have to consider, what am I surrendering in order to do the other thing? And so if you have $1 billion and you have to invest in securities, then you go buy Bitcoin miners, because you don't have a choice. Your choice is to invest in non-Bitcoin companies or invest in Bitcoin companies, right? So Bitcoin miner is better than not a Bitcoin miner. But that's because you have $1 billion of strategic capital and you can't move it anywhere else. But if you had $1 billion and you could buy Bitcoin with it, buy the Bitcoin. Right? Now, if you're wanting to start a company and take it public, you probably can't start a company to buy Bitcoin and take it public, but you can start a Bitcoin miner and take that public. You see, so you got to ask the question, what are you trying to accomplish? My view is the most valuable property in the universe is Bitcoin.